Will we see appearances by Goldberg and John Cena at WrestleMania 37? Welcome to this week's edition of WrestleScope Weekly. I'm John. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel, you like this video, you hit the notification bell so you can be updated on every time that we put out new content on WrestleScope TV. So the news has come out this week, and we've got a lot to talk about this week. The news has come out according to WrestleVotes, and this is the tweet. Once a decision was made to run the two-night card for WrestleMania, the creative team started working on bigger ideas, quote-unquote bigger ideas. Though the thought is WWE needs 4 major matches, 2 for each night, that probably would require some outside assistance from bigger names. Cena and Goldberg are already locks. Rock, unlikely. Taker, TBD. And there was more. They followed up with that. Follow up on the Taker part. Majority of those backstage think he's done. And rightfully so. However, it only takes one call, and that's usually from a convincing Vince man to change that all. That was from WrestleVotes, who is usually pretty spot on with all of their different rumors and reports and everything. And everything I've been hearing from different news sources, different podcasts, is that in the past, WrestleMania was pretty much figured out by the time we got into the Royal Rumble. You know, there's a few things that could change here and there, but really, by the time they got into the Royal Rumble, they knew what the WrestleMania card was going to be. Going into 2021, everything is still up in the air. Everything is being written in pencil right now because that means everything could change. So what does that mean for the Royal Rumble? Who knows? Leave your comments. Let me know. Do you want to see Bill Goldberg and John Cena wrestle, not together in a match together, but in separate matches at WrestleMania 37? This really concerns me because, okay, yes, I understand that they want to have 4 big matches. 2 big matches on each night. You have 2 different nights. You want it to be big draws. But this means they don't have a lot of faith in the talent that they have already. And that is a really concerning thing for me, that they have to go to John Cena, who hasn't wrestled in well over a year, Bill Goldberg, who only wrestles twice a year right now, and his last couple of matches have sucked. Okay? And I'm really concerned going into Royal Rumble what's going to end up happening with Drew McIntyre and the WWE title. The closer and closer we get to this, and maybe we'll get a better understanding this coming Monday on Raw, when Drew McIntyre finally returns, hopefully has been cleared through the COVID protocol, and will be able to be back. Will it be a face-to-face with Goldberg? I don't know. Goldberg wasn't at the show last week. I am not even going to talk about Monday Night Raw this last week. It was a bad show. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let others like Sean Ross Sapp and Wrestle Talk and Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez and all those people, anybody else, talk about how bad Raw was this past week. I'm not going to do it. So WrestleMania is really shaping up to be a giant mess, and they're leaning towards older talent, part-time talent, guys that aren't going to be around very long. And this is a perfect transition here because that takes us into our next story here right away. And that is talking about a guy that hasn't been on TV in a while, a great talent in Aleistar Black. And there have been multiple reports about Aleistar Black, of what's going on with him. He has not been seen on TV since back in October. He lost to Kevin Owens back in October. He has not been seen backstage at SmackDown since his wife, Zelina Vega, left the company. Now, there's been multiple reports about this, that WWE just didn't have anything planned for him, that there's heat with Aleistar Black, whatever the case may be. One of the newest reports that came out was that, and this was from Fightful Select, that WWE has been keeping Aleistar Black off TV because they wanted to re-debut him, have a big re-debut for him, potentially at the Royal Rumble. But now Fightful Select is reporting again that he may not be returning, that there could be some more heat, there could be some other things going on. They're trying to let the whole issue with Zelina Vega finally cool down, and maybe it hasn't yet. This is a shame because Aleistar Black is such an amazing talent, and quite honestly, since he got called up from NXT, has been underutilized, misused. He was in the tag team with Ricochet when they came up, and they should have got a tag team championship run, even if it was a short one. That didn't happen. He ended up getting involved in the whole Seth Rollins Mysterio thing where he got his eye gouged out. Before that, he was, back in the back closet, somebody knock on my door, please, for months and months and months, and finally he came out. Then he was in the feud with Kevin Owens and hasn't really done much. It's really been a hot mess for him since coming up from NXT. So what's going to happen with Aleistar Black? We don't know. Could he be a surprise entrant at the Royal Rumble? It'd be great to see. I'm not counting on it at this point. I'm hopefully going to be wrong on this. I would be pleasantly surprised if he did return. But, right now, I don't think it's going to end up happening. I really don't. Kind of taking a step back to what we were talking about before with older talent, a person that has not wrestled in almost 6 years is going to be making his return in February into the ring, in action, at AEW Revolution, and that's Sting. It's already been announced. The very first match has been announced for AEW Revolution, which I believe is scheduled for February 27th. It's Brian Cage and Ricky Starks of Team Taz taking on Sting and Darby Allin, the TNT champion, in a street fight. Now, all the different rumors that I've heard are that this is going to be some sort of a cinematic match in a way. It's going to be pre-taped. That way they could protect Sting because, again, he hasn't wrestled since 2015 when he had that terrible injury in the ring against Seth Rollins, which basically ended his in-ring career. It was a neck injury, but he's been cleared. He's okay to come back. Do we need to see this in 2021? And I know people have been going back and forth for the last couple of months, ever since Sting reappeared at Winter is Coming for AEW, that, this will be great, we get to see him in the ring, blah, blah, blah. He's 61 years old. What can he really do in the ring, especially with 3 really good younger talents like Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, and Darby Allin? Ricky Starks, I'm going to say it right here, future world champion. I was impressed with this guy in NWA, was super excited when AEW signed him. He's going to be a breakout star. It's going to take a little bit of time. May not happen in 2021, might be 2022 going into 2023. But Ricky Starks, definitely a breakout star. Could they potentially add third men to this team to make it a 6-man tag to protect Sting even more? I don't know. I have not ordered an AEW pay-per-view to this point because I'm just kind of a miser that way. I have the WWE network and I'm spoiled that way, only paying $9.99 a month. I don't buy other wrestling pay-per-views, but this one has piqued my interest simply because I want to see what they're going to end up doing with Sting. And depending on how the rest of this card shapes out, I might actually break my own rule and actually purchase another wrestling pay-per-view. We will see. All right, some other big news that just came out in the last couple of days, and this one could have huge ramifications for WWE products, and that is NBC is shutting down, NBC Universal is shutting down the NBC Sports Network. And they have a lot of NASCAR racing, the NHL on there. Obviously, the pandemic has hurt their channel. I think they do international soccer and some other things. But the talk is that NASCAR and NHL could move over to the USA Network. Now, obviously, you have NXT, which has performed okay in the ratings, but not in the 18 to 49 ratings. They've been getting less than a 1.0 in the 18 to 49 demographic since beginning. You know, they're drawing between 600 and 700,000 viewers every Wednesday night, which is good. It's a little bit less than what AEW has been doing. But their contract, NXT's contract with the USA Network, is up in October. Could we end up seeing NXT either moving nights, because the reports are coming out that NHL Wednesday nights have been a big night for the NHL, where there's usually doubleheader games on the NBC Sports Network. Obviously, that would have an effect on NXT, which is on at 8 p.m. Eastern Time every Wednesday night. Could NXT end up moving to another night on the USA Network? Do they want to do that? Could NXT end up having to go somewhere else? Who knows? And is this going to have an effect on Monday Night Raw? Raw has not been performing as well in the ratings. They've been drawing, in the mid 1 millions, between 1.5 and 2 million every single week. But it's not where they used to be. They're getting outdrawn by SmackDown on Fox. Now, granted, Fox is not a cable channel. Fox, you could get on cable, but you could still get over digital, over the air. So they reach many more households than the USA Network does. Could contract discussions between the WWE and USA Network, could they be affected by something with NXT and that whole situation? We shall see. It's going to be a very interesting few months here. Again, NXT is contracted to the USA Network until October. No word when the NBC Sports Network is going to shut down. Have not heard a definitive date on that yet. Obviously, it's probably months down the road. So the NHL season could potentially be over by the time this happens, but NASCAR will be right smack dab in the middle of their season. Now, that's usually Saturday nights and Sundays, unless there's a rain delay and it goes to a Monday. So that would not have an effect on Monday Night Raw or on NXT on Wednesday nights. Let's switch over. We had mentioned SmackDown. Let's talk a little bit about SmackDown here real quick. And I got to tell you, I am still absolutely loving what is going on with Roman Reigns and his character development. And I know there's been people that have just been peeing all over the whole Adam Pearce, everything going on with him. But I like the different levels of things that have been going on with this. Friday night on SmackDown, we saw the confrontation between Adam Pearce, Roman Reigns, and Paul Heyman, which was quite entertaining. And I like the fact that they didn't have Adam Pearce play kind of that weaselly, I'm afraid of you authority figure to Roman Reigns. He actually manned up, and we got to see just a little bit of scrap iron Adam Pearce, the 5-time NWA champion in there. And Paul Heyman taking the shot at him, saying, well, you just never were good enough to be in the WWE, which is kind of a hard personal take. That's got to be tough for Adam Pearce to hear. Even if it's just storyline, that's got to be tough for him. So they had scheduled out the entire Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman match for the main event, which you knew darn well, and I tweeted this, darn well it's not going to happen. Okay, something stupid's going to happen. And then they sprinkle in the whole, oh, by the way, pulled some strings, Kevin Owens isn't going to be in the building tonight. Sure. Kevin Owens isn't going to be in the building tonight. Guess what? That means he's going to show up. And then they announced later that Roman Reigns had left the building. Sure. Nope, Roman Reigns is still around. So we get to the main event. Adam Pearce is out there kind of in his quasi gear. Heyman comes down and is still in his suit, but is taping up his wrists as best as he can. Then he stumbles on the stairs and pulls out the card subject to change. And who shows up in the ring? I was expecting Jey Uso's music to hit, but it didn't. I didn't realize it until after the show. Like, wait a second, Jey Uso wasn't even mentioned on the show. He wasn't on the show, and he's not mentioned. Have not seen any news or rumors. Really, really hoping that this was just we want to focus on Roman and Paul, Adam and KO, and no involvement from Jey this week, as opposed to, did Jey Uso come in contact with somebody? We shall see. I'm sure if something really did happen, reports will start coming out in the next couple of days. But I really like this, and the fact that Roman Reigns looked vulnerable. He actually looked vulnerable as Kevin Owens was beating on him, and he kept beating on him even though referees were pulling him away. And KO is just so good with shooting off the cuff right in front of the hard cams that, you know what, the referees are on your side, they're saving you, blah, 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 just everything that Kevin Owens does. There are people that are saying, they don't want to see this anymore. But guess what? These two are putting together just an incredible story. And I am excited to see what's going to happen next week, Friday. We get one more show. We get a go-home show for Royal Rumble next Friday. Can't wait to see what the build for this is going to be. Now, conversely, on Monday Night Raw, we have the other situation of a man we mentioned already, Goldberg and Drew McIntyre. I don't want to see this match. I wish this wouldn't happen because I've just, in my gut, I've got a really bad feeling about this. I just do. I've got a bad feeling that Goldberg is going to walk out with the title. And that's not what we need in 2021. It was bad enough when he beat Kevin Owens before. It was bad enough when he beat The Fiend. We don't need it in 2021. But we finally get the long-awaited face-to-face. We had the face-to-face a couple of weeks ago with them when Goldberg came out, screwed up his lines, pushed down Drew, and they had to go off air before anything really transpired. We finally get a face-to-face between I believe it's going to be a face-to-face. I'm not 100% sure at this point. But they're both going to be on the show. It's going to be better than that horrible Miz TV dirt sheet segment, whatever they're calling it now. Though I did love Gilbert. I've been a fan of Dwayne Gill and was really cool, especially considering, he had a heart attack a few months ago and he was back and still playing the character to the top level. And then you've got, short, fat dad bod Drew McIntyre out there. I forget the actor's name, but that was bad. That was really, really bad. Now, I want to talk about something, the last thing I want to talk about here, and this is going to be a little bit of a shorter show today, but last thing I want to talk about is something that I think has been really, really good to start, and that is, whoops, oh my goodness, made a mistake on something here, hang on a second, gotta click off the right thing on my screen. Fortunately, you folks didn't see it, but I saw it in the background. There we go. The Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And we've got the men's and the women's side. The women's side, they've only got 8 teams because obviously they just don't have enough women right now to do it. But on the men's side, man, this past Wednesday on NXT, just phenomenal first-round matches. Kushida and Leon Ruff with, honestly, I'd have to say this is an upset. Actually, it was a night of upsets. Kushida actually tapping out Johnny Gargano, who teamed with Austin Theory, his teammate in the way. So Kushida and Ruff move on. And obviously, after all this plays out, this has laid the groundwork for Kushida versus Gargano for the North American Championship. Yes, please give it to me 3-4 times, twice on Sunday. Lucha House Party, Grand Metalik, and Lince Dorado beating the former NXT Tag Team Champions Imperium. And no goofiness, no silly things. They beat them clean. Who would have thought? And then the big thing that came out of Wednesday night, the huge change, was Desmond Troy and Ashante Adonis were taken out of the tournament because Ashante Adonis was injured by Karrion Kross. And that match, as short as it was, if you haven't seen that match, go watch it. Karrion Kross was just vicious in that match and afterwards, attacking Desmond Troy. So then we end up getting the Franken team, the team you never knew you wanted, of Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. And Thatcher and Ciampa, man, they had a heck of a fight pit match on Wednesday night. It was brutal. And then they come back, they come back 2 days later on 205 Live, though I think they actually taped it before NXT, and they ended up getting the victory and winning. I forget who they ended up facing, but they moved on. And that sets up, talk about a dream match. And this is in the quarterfinals of the Dusty Classic. Adam Cole and Roddy Strong from Undisputed Era taking on Ciampa and Thatcher. I'm actually disappointed that this is happening in the quarterfinals because I would have rather have had this be a semifinal match. I'd rather have this be in the next round because one of these teams, which is really good, is going to get knocked out. And I think there's going to be some involvement from Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. I think there's going to be some involvement there, and it's going to give Ciampa and Thatcher the win, and that's going to lead up to that grudge match between, Cole and Strong and the tag team champions. You've got Kushida and Ruff against the Grizzled Young Veterans. That is going to be an absolutely fantastic match as well. On the other side of the bracket, you've got MSK and Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Maverick and Dane are an entertaining team. I don't see them moving on through this. I think MSK is going to win. And then what could be, it's really hard to say that this is going to be the match of the quarterfinals, but I really think it has the potential to be. You've got Legado del Fantasma taking on Lucha House Party. Just imagine the things that are going to happen with these four guys in the ring. This is absolutely fantastic. Right now, I got to say, the winner of the Cole Strong Ciampa Thatcher match has got to be the favorite to win this. Absolutely. On the women's side, there's still two more first round matchups to go. Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon against Marina Shafir and Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark is taking the place of Jessamine Duke, who Jessamine Duke's not wrestling. She is full-time gaming and doing stuff like that. So I talked about this on TikTok a couple of days ago. I don't think we are ever going to see that 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen match because Marina Shafir is on her own now without Jessamine Duke. But it'll be exciting to finally see Marina Shafir in action, though I've got this bad feeling that they're going to end up losing to Shotzi and Ember. Shotzi and Ember are going to move on. Then you've got Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Now, you have to think, okay, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez are going to move on, but look what happened this past week with Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. They got shocked. Katie Catanzaro and Kaden Carter ended up knocking them off. So nothing is really for certain here. And then you also had, and this was on 205 Live, first-time women wrestling on 205 Live. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell defeating Cora Jade and Gigi Dolan. I'll tell you right now, folks, if you have not seen Cora Jade wrestle, she wrestled on the Independents as Aleistar Black. 20 years old. This girl has tons of talent and is a future champion, without a doubt. She's going to have a nice long run in NXT. She will, at some point in time, be the NXT Women's Champion, and I see her moving up to the main roster. I have that kind of faith in Cora Jade in what she can do. But the Dusty Classic shaping up to be just absolutely fantastic. If you haven't caught any of it, Go online. It's available. You can find stuff on WWE.com. You can find stuff on YouTube. Absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to see how all of this is going to shape out. It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. It really is. As bad as some of the writing on Raw has been as of late, you've got great things going on SmackDown. Really good things going on AEW. NXT is always a good product. I do want to talk about AEW for a minute, and I had a hot take that didn't get used this week on Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily, and I blame Louis Dangor from Wrestle Talk for that. Louis, if you're seeing this, I'm sorry. But I believe that, and actually, you know what? Let's get the graphic up. We gotta get the graphic up. Haven't used it in the last couple of weeks. Here is John's hot take to wrap up the show. Impact Wrestling, the AEW invasion of Impact Wrestling, is actually going to have bigger negative impact in real terms with the Impact talent, because AEW talent is coming in and getting opportunities that should be going to Impact talent. And I think that's going to cause problems between Impact management and their talent. Not kayfabe, not storyline, but in real life. We're talking shoot here. You take a look at it. You've got Private Party with Matt Hardy coming in, and they're the #1 contenders for the Impact Tag Team titles. How do you think that makes Impact Tag Teams feel when a team that isn't even the best team in AEW is coming over and getting a title shot? You know, I'd say they're maybe the #4, #5 team in AEW. You know, if it was FTR, okay, great. You know, if the Young Bucks weren't aligned with Kenny Omega and it was the Young Bucks coming over against the Good Brothers, okay, great. But Private Party? Really? Even if it was a team out of the Inner Circle, Proud and Powerful. Actually, I don't see that happening because I think there might be bad blood there. But, you know, just for an example, Proud and Powerful coming over. But you've got Private Party, and they're taking a tag team title shot away from other teams. I think if this kind of thing continues on, there's going to be Impact talent that is going to be very vocal. And I'm not talking on TV storylines. I'm talking behind the scenes on social media that are going to be very vocal with Impact Wrestling that they're not happy. You know, we've just seen that. Oh, I'm forgetting Ethan Page. Ethan Page this past week. Holy cow. He lit a firestorm on social media about how ticked off he was at Impact Wrestling of how they handled his exit. His match with, you know, his other character, the Karate Man, and how that whole thing shaped out. Then you've got the news that Taya Valkyrie is done with Impact Wrestling. She's leaving. Could we be seeing a mass exodus all of a sudden out of Impact? Where are they going to go? Yeah, some of them could end up in NXT. Some of them could end up in AEW, though I think AEW's talent pool is bloated right now, and they're running out of things for people to do over there, which could end up being a downfall. That's a hot take for another time. But Impact needs to get things in order with their talent so they don't get pissed off with what's going on with AEW right now. That's my hot take. Well, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate all of you tuning in to this week's episode. I decided not to go live with this one. Just decided to go ahead and do this one. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you very much. Podcast listens have been growing week by week. Thank you to all the new subscribers. All the new subscribers to the YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate it. For my friends on TikTok, thank you so much. We continue to keep growing the WrestleScope family on TikTok, and it's just exciting to see everything that's happening over there. I greatly appreciate it. More new content coming soon. I'm not going to talk about things that I'm working on because, again, I've got in the back of my brain what my good friend DC told me. John, stop telling people what you're going to do and just go do it. And after you do it, then talk about how you've been doing that. So that's what we're going to end up doing on this channel. Again, please like this video. subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so you know every time that something new comes up on WrestleScope TV. Also, if you're not following me on my other social media, please head on over TikTok at WrestleScope TV. That's where I spend most of my time, is over there. Twitter at TV_Wrestle. Also at WrestleScope on Instagram. Check out my bio. If you're watching YouTube or if you're listening to the podcast, check out my bio. You can see the link tree and connect with all of my different channels. I've got my Amazon wish list up there. There's Cash App. Don't worry about the Cash App. But Amazon wish list with some fun little things in there as well. And all my social media. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm John. This is WrestleScope TV. Go enjoy some wrestling this coming week. And we'll talk to you next week.